Okay.
We need more teachers
All right.
to be on time
All right.
when they show up. And we got all these locations. The coordinating committee can't handle it. We can't handle it by ourselves. You got those 4 schools and more to come. So if you're a teacher, you want to volunteer, please come on.
Okay.
But guess what? If you don't want to teach, we got more work. Because remember I said this is a double-edged sword. Myself, Mama Moore, and plenty other folks, we're the representative here in Detroit for the National Journey for Justice. What's going on in Detroit? It's the same thing everywhere. As we travel throughout the nation, we see it's just a different playbook. It's called state takeover here. Another city is called mayor takeover.
Yes.
It's no different, and it's horrible. So we need volunteers. We want volunteers, not just adults, our young people.
That's right.
To come on out.
Yes.
And last but not least, when you talk about movement, you can't say movement without community.
That's right.
Y'all didn't hear me.
That's right. That's right.
When you talk about a movement, you gotta talk about community.
That's right.
So when you come, we meet on Cass Common every Monday at 7 p.m. The coordinating committee. If you want to come, get some work in. Every Monday at the Cass Common, 7 p.m. This Monday we're not meeting, right? So the next meeting is November 7th.
Yes.
Please show up at 7 p.m. and you can see where you can fit in at.
What is the Cass Common?
Oh, Cass Common, this is it right here on the left side.
Okay.
Right here at the bottom. Oh, the address, 4065 Cass Avenue. Again, 4065 Cass Avenue. Forest and Cass.
Okay.
Brother Kheperu is what this program is all about. That everybody in the audience is to go out and tell 10 people, and we want to multiply this effort that is led by some of these people and some of these people that are in the audience. And so that is the purpose of this whole program, is to get out the word. And the youth said it not any better than anyone else could have said, because they're experiencing this. So please, 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 involve yourself and get others to be involved. We have some time for question and answer and responses. The microphones are set. Please come to the microphone. Make your questions concise and brief, because we still have a little bit more to the program. Do we have anybody who's interested in addressing our panel?
Testing. Good afternoon, panel and guests. My name is Lisa Murdoch. I'm a Detroit public school teacher, 23 years, and I want to say, after hearing those young ladies speak, I want to say that I'm proud to be a Detroit public school teacher. And one of the young ladies, she mentioned when she talked about teachers, and she talked about teachers educating children. And I was speaking with someone at the table today, and I talked about the Detroit public school teachers, and I talked about how we just don't go into classrooms and teach, but we deal with social, we deal with economic issues, we deal with political issues, and I shared that with her. And she stated, oh, that doesn't matter. So, you know, you have a lot of misinformed individuals, and if you're not in the classroom, you don't understand what we deal with every day. So I just wanted to put emphasis on what the young lady said, how important it is to come in and be a good educator. Thank you.
I don't know that I'm a volunteer educator, but I've been an educator all of my life. I've taught from preschool to law school. I am very concerned with what's happening with education in the city of Detroit. I heard your young people who started us off talk about the fact that they went to, I believe, Cornerstone, and she said it was a private school, and another one talked about going to a charter school, and she indicated that it was not a public school. I agree with them. It is illegal to take public dollars to fund charter schools. There is no such animal as a charter public school. You are siphoning off money from Detroit public schools and you are giving that money to private interest. We, the people, ought not be funding private schools. And I think that, and Helen, you may agree with me, but I think that it's right for a lawsuit because you cannot play with words from a statutorily constructed perspective in law. The word charter and the word public are oxymorons. They do not merge together. I said that to say that I would like to know what Detroit Independent Freedom Schools movement is. Is it a public creature? Is it a private creature? What is the origin? And what is the overall goal? Because I really didn't get that from your presentations, and I'm certain that I'm slow, but if you could just help me out a little bit with that. Thank you. I am D. Etta Wilcoxon.
Our next city clerk. Yes.
Good afternoon. I first want to thank the panel and thank the organizers for such.
Response to the question first. I'm sorry. She had a long question, but I'm sure there's more.
It was one question.
And it was a question.
Right, just one question in the whole thing. Right. Let's get an answer.
The microphones are working for the panelists.
They all can answer.
This one.
Somebody.
If I understand correctly, you said the origin. Where did she go? Well, the origins.
She's over there.
The origins of the Freedom School, I thought we... Correct. It started over at Dexter Elmhurst. Just as out of the spirit of us getting tired of our kids going through this. It's really
public or private?
Is it public or private? Right, that's
it's
it.
public. We started ourselves. It's public. Community.
Where's the money? Government's money.
No money. We're doing this on our own, out our pocket.
Then it's private.
The public, this is community based. We're not funded, we fund ourselves. So you can interpret it any way. We ain't getting money from nobody but us. We asked for volunteers, and a prime example is when we asked for volunteers, it was many of the teachers and parents that brought books and paper.
Right. It's tutoring.
What you say?
It's tutoring.
Oh yeah, tutoring, yeah. We're not paying any, and you coming on your own and to contribute. It's free.
And working beautifully.
I think today's Freedom School here, they said was more in attendance than it before. Is that true? We had about 25 children today. Okay, so it was well attended. There's also a correction on the address of the Freedom School hosted by the Shrine. It's at the church at 7625 Linwood. Same starting times, November 5th at 10 a.m., but it is 7625 Linwood. We have the next question, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Once again, I'd like to thank the panel and the organizers for this excellent program. Clearly, out of all the attacks on our people, black people, this is probably the most severe and the most devastating and long term. So I'm going to pose the question as to how we can end this tyranny, and also suggest, my suggestion is that we pay no more taxes. We are actually funding this madness, and it's time to end this now. However, I have no answers as to how to pull this off. So my question to the panel and anyone else who has some understanding of taxes and the way we're being taxed and how, I guess it would be constitutional law that we can completely end this burden of taxing our own demise.
Yeah, that's that. We can always
Do we have an answer to it, or just anticipating her?
All those folks that don't want to go to jail, and we got to join together and unite it. It's been done before, but everybody ended up in jail. But if enough people do it, it'd be hard to get to us, and we don't need to sponsor our own demise. That's a good suggestion, but when you try to pull everybody together, people don't want to go to jail. And that's what we've been up against for years. We tried this before. Just like we tried emptying the schools out on certain days, and the parents need babysitters. So what we would have to do is educate our people as to, like today, as to what's really happening to them, and what you said is true. We're doing it to ourselves. Okay?
Let me add to it. We said it earlier. It's a double-edged sword. Meaning, and Mama can talk about all the lawsuits that's going on. So there's plenty of lawsuits going on to deal with this, to deal with a lot of those topics. But on the flip side, our youth still need to be educated now. So we have to work on both fronts.
Yes, and the other thing too, the overall arching problem of all of this is the emergency management. So we need to work on repealing the laws that allow the emergency managers to come in and take over everything and render everyone pretty much powerless and having taxation without representation.
This is, yeah. I'd like to say this much. Go ahead.
It was repealed in 2012, and they snuck it right in. The law is unconstitutional, illegal, racist governor. And this government left it right back into the lame duck session and put into law, which was illegal. The state constitution says you cannot put a law back into effect that the statewide citizens repealed. So from that level, President Obama and the U.S. Attorney General have the legitimacy to step in and have always had it. Come in and get rid of and eradicate this lawlessness, this free civil war business in Michigan.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. Thank you, my sister. And that's why we got all these lawsuits. And just like I just told you, what did they say? We're going to do it with it. We know it's wrong. We're going to do it as long as they stop us. And that's what we're trying to do. And we filed so many lawsuits you all don't even know about. We still got some lawsuits.
That's right.
As long as they control the courts and all the other things that's going on, the people they got around with all the money, they said they're going to keep doing it until we stop them. So now think about it. Okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna just stick this in, bro. It is it's more than a double-edged sword. It's a multifaceted, struggle here. The children do need to be educated. They need to be educated with a decent curriculum, not a racist curriculum. They need that. Okay? A fight needs to go on to have ethnic studies made into teachable majors in these schools.
That's right.
In the state of Arizona, I was just out there a couple times this past year. In the state of Arizona, what racist state that is?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
They declared third world studies and ethnic studies illegal.
That's right.
They passed the law. Okay? Get this. They said because they teach hatred of the white man. The ethnic studies community in Arizona, Hispanics and Native Americans and Black Americans, some Detroiters there, I'm proud to say, hired lawyers to contest this in court and continuing teaching ethnic studies, third world studies, K through 12 in that state. We don't have to take this stuff, as I said, okay? But we also need to marshal our elected officials to stand up for us. Okay? They don't need to be riding around in these expensive SUVs like Uncle Roy Roberts and the human palindrome Bob and them did. Huh? They didn't have to do that, okay? We also need to marshal all of these lawyers we got. We got more Negro lawyers than damn near any other thing, okay? And you go around to a meeting of these Negro lawyers, they talk about being in the boardroom and being with the firm, you know. But they never got shit to say or do for the people. Yeah, we tried. I know we tried. Yeah, Sister Helen Moore has long been tried. I know who she busted that thing, whose head she busted that thing over. Don't mess with Sister Helen Moore. But as Malcolm X taught, you know, we have to be unrelenting on many fronts, okay? And we have to make the Negroes amongst us stand up. Now, Stokely Carmichael said inside every Negro there's a black man struggling to break out. I'm through.
On that note, let me, there's this information sheet that we need you all, that was forgot to be added into your packets or passing them out. Right now, we need people to fill these information sheets out as well, so that you can get in the movement in the Freedom School. We have another question, Tom. Any other responses?
Okay, I think this is right.
Go ahead, you were here?
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Thank you, panelists. Good afternoon, brothers and sisters, freedom fighters. Like the question before me, the sister Wilcox, my question was similar as far as the ultimate goal as far as the freedom schools. I have nothing but admiration for the schools. But I do believe that we're facing taxation without representation. And no matter whatever the name is, rather it's DPS, public school, charter school, private school, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of negative stigmatism attached to that. But at the end of the day, a panel such as yourself, whether it's DPS, a charter, or private, or however, it's the heart that's behind it. And I think that's what we got to realize. You know, a lot of people say, oh, what category is this? What category is that? You know, and I think the freedom schools is, on one hand, is really filling the void as far as the students not only being miseducated, but not educated at all. So y'all filling that void with that. But then on the other hand, we got to fight on all fronts. Because we got a mess right now with DPS and the billions of dollars of debt that we're in. It's gonna take a while. So I think that we do gotta have multiple methods. We gotta have a method, rather that's private, you know, because if we have the right heart behind the private, or you know, until we get our public school system together, we gotta fight on that front as well, until we get shifted over to a public. But we need to be able to fall into a category in which we can actually buy these DPS schools and use that system, and, you know, use the system to fight their own system against it. So rather we label it as a private or a charter or public, we got to use their rules against them. And I think we got to recognize that instead of just saying, oh, well, y'all consider yourself this and y'all in this category. But at the end of the day, we have a group of people that's for the best interest of the children. And I think that's the #1 thing, because you got people that's claiming to be DPS, but they're not truly DPS. They're not truly for the students. You know, they're taking all of it is our dollars, rather, whatever you want to call it. You know, at the end of the day, it's our money. You know, so we should be able to invest our money into the students, the advisors that we choose to put in place. So my question is, how will y'all be able? How will we? What's y'all plan as far as using the systematic way of raising funds and being able to allocate it towards the freedom schools, so we can buy these DPS buildings until we finish the fight with Snippet. You know, whether we buy the DPS land, because it's a land grab. So okay. So that's. I hope I was clear in my question. Thank you.
It's some things that you all don't know, and you're not supposed to know because it's been kept from you. Did y'all know that the mayor bought 76 schools? See, did y'all know that those schools are gone forever?
Yes.
Did y'all know that over in my neighborhood there's one elementary middle school called Mackenzie?
Yes.
They gave that the name of the school because we were fighting for a high school that they tore down. Did y'all know that Mackenzie is so overloaded with children because it's the only school in our area that the community's children have been forced to go outside the city, buses coming every day? Did y'all know all these things? Now, I'm gonna say this before somebody gets ready to say something, because I kind of get a little disturbed that we haven't kept up with our history and don't know what we're doing. If we let go the fight of the DPS school system without having another school system of our own, then we will lose everything, and that's what they want us to do. They want us to go private and charter. I'm going to hang on to the poor children that can't do anything else, whose parents don't have transportation, who don't have the funds to do the things that they need to do. I'm going to hang on to the day I die for our own school system. And that's what I'm fighting for, and it is our own school system. Thank you. Give it up, you lose it.
It's so hard to go after hearing Mama Moore speak, but I did want to add just one more informational point. I wish I could have snuck in before her because it's so hard to go after. But okay. Just to the young man's brilliant questions, it makes us think about strategy a lot. So thank you so much for offering your question. My sense is, first of all, I want to say about the freedom schools movement that we have here, the independent freedom schools. There was a question about community, public, private, what is it? We have to remember that the public schools, Detroit public schools, are funded by the community. Who is paying for that $1.5 billion bond that they went after? Through the taxes, through blood and tears. Those are community schools. The public schools are community schools. It's the same community that is pushing for the independent freedom schools right now. The independent freedom schools are not just about tutoring. They have tutoring, yes, that's essential. My understanding is that they're also about soul building. They're about revival of spirit, right? They're about forming people who are able to be freedom fighters because they've had some of the veil that's pulled off. People who understand themselves, their own community, that's right? So yes, there's tutoring, but it's much broader than that as well. Best practices. That's right. Best practices, there you go.
Salvation of our people.
Thank you. And I agree so much. The public schools, the point is that they are Detroit schools, but someone's trying to take them over. So you don't give them up, you fight for them. And you fight for them inside them, and you fight for them outside them at the same time, right? And there is the ultimate alliance and allegiance between those who are fighting to save the Detroit public schools and those who are fighting for the independent freedom schools. This is the same struggle.
Say that.
Tom Stevens, one of the coordinators of the Freedom Schools. Thank you. I'm really proud to say that today. And thank you to all the panel members. I have to change my question a little bit because of the things that have been said. There will be no silver bullets issued for this revolution. There are litigations. I myself have been trying to involve Detroit grassroots involvement in one of the big ones that's been filed recently. There's a piece of paper, 2 sides in your packet about that, and there will be others, but they go slowly. They go very slowly. This question about public versus private, we could stack up legal treatises from the basement classroom where we talked about ancient civilizations and politics and social studies today up to the roof of this building, and we would learn that the distinction between public and private, like as we're now learning the distinction in some cases between male and female, like the distinctions made about this political category called race that has no biological basis, they are false.
Yes.
And that's what freedom schools are about. Freedom schools are about collective self-defense. And I want to ask the speakers to comment. I think it's been implicit in what everybody's been saying, but I want to posit that we are at an extraordinary moment right now, as I think it's been clear, where we are facing the failure of a supposed educational model, a supposed theory of education. It's really just piracy, but there has been this so-called reform about union busting and privatization and charterizing and test accountability, high-stakes tests and accountability and all this crap. And it has failed. And I mean, we could go on and on about it, but it's the same so-called educational theory that prevailed when the first slave ship sailed up the James River in 1609, and it has failed. That's how big this moment is.
Yes.
And what the Freedom Schools are about, well, next Saturday we will be downstairs with a whole lab set up with Bunsen burners and test tubes and chemical reactions, teaching scientific method to children who are denied that kind of basic understanding of reality. And then the week after that, we will have an intergenerational gathering to talk about this extraordinary political election that we are still suffering through, where we will have children and parents and volunteer educators and activists sitting around and trying to get something out of this. So what I would like to the extent you haven't already done it, I would like the panelists to comment about the opportunities that are presented by using education in this way at this extraordinary moment where this 600-year-old educational philosophy, so-called, has just failed so obviously.
Before their response, these are the last people that are answering questions. In the sake of time, please no more questions from the audience. Go ahead and please respond.
You said no more? After
No
you?
more. After all of the people that are presently in line. Go ahead and please respond.
I think the brother raises great points, you know. There's only a few times to do something. That's when you want to and when you can. And clearly we want to, okay? And clearly we can, because this school situation that's going on in this state is beyond egregious. You know, egregious is too many syllables, okay? For the robbery and theft of our children's future that is occurring. These people have no and low expectations for our students. Okay? As the brother said, in the days of slavery, you know, they used to say that we were too stupid to learn. Thomas Jefferson making black babies, positing whether or not black people were fit as human beings, etc., etc. Well, these things still go on, you know, and I'll just repeat this. When you hire a Negro with no educational experience and put him in charge of the schools, that tells you everything you need to know. Everything. Right, well, they pay the Negro $250,000 a year, or $280,000 a year, you know, and these people with this EAA situation, you know, you got all these people making major money, okay? When you get to the point where they say publicly that you can have teachers without qualification to teach black students, they say that to nobody but us, okay? And they say that because they know, they expect that all of us accept it, but clearly all of us don't accept that shit.
I just wanted to say, as a volunteer in the Freedom Schools, what the children are gaining from my experience this summer and a few weeks ago. And this is the type, I'm just giving you a picture of what type of kids I was teaching. I had second and third graders that didn't know how to hold a pencil and spell their own names and write their own names. I have 12, 13, 14-year-olds and some high schoolers that do not know how to read, period. And they've been passed through and passed through and passed through. What the children are getting are educators. Some of us are professors, some of us are certified teachers, some of us are retired teachers. They're getting one-on-one attention. They're getting a person who is real, who will meet them exactly where they're at without belittling them, without dogging them out, without calling them dumb and stupid, or telling them that they're not anything. And they get a listening ear who will sit there and listen to children scream at us and say, but we never had to do this before in a classroom. they had to learn how, they get to learn how to respect themselves as well as the people who are trying to teach them. And they do. And they see that there are people who look like them that come from their own communities that do care enough, that love them to teach them. That's what the children are getting.
And